much of a winter, but winter surprised us.
Multiple tornadoes touched down in Illinois and Indiana.
We could see the funnel cloud coming, and I mean within just seconds like it hit.
As wildfires continue to burn in Oklahoma and Texas.
Blackening the ground just yards away from this home.
Worsening drought conditions are a growing problem in the Carolinas.
In South Carolina, 100% of the state remains in drought.
And the three bears spotted running across the slopes of a ski resort.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Mark Pena. The heavy snow that fell across the west is now responsible for at least 20 avalanches in 24 hours in Utah. The Utah Avalanche Center says 9 of them were triggered by humans. Yesterday, a teenager who was backcountry skiing near the Brighton Ski Resort died. A rescue helicopter that responded couldn't land because of the strong winds. And that happened just one day after the state's first avalanche death of the year, a man who was snowmobiling with his son. As Natalie Wattas reports, the boy tried to dig his father out of the snow, but was too late.
8 members of Wasatch County Search and Rescue and 2 avalanche forecasters with the Utah Avalanche Center rode out on the State Creek Trail on a journey of about 6 miles to the site of the avalanche.
Our goal for today is to go in and do an evaluation of the scene, add to our knowledge base of the snowpack and what caused the avalanche.
According to first responders, the call came in between 4 and 4:30 Wednesday afternoon. The Wasatch County Sheriff's Office says the father and son pair were snowmobiling in the Big Flat area when the father was caught in the slide. The son used his avalanche beacon to find him and dig him out. But despite his efforts, the man passed away.
The best way to not get hurt in an avalanche is to not get caught in one. A beacon is what you use after the bad thing has happened.
The boy was rescued and the father's body was recovered that evening.
It was snowing at the time, it was getting dark, so it was a challenging rescue in technical terrain.
Search and Rescue tell me this is the first avalanche fatality in the county this season. Snowmobilers in the area this morning shocked by the news.
Oh, it's sad. I mean, you know, you're out here having a good time and you sometimes don't think about how dangerous it is, right?
The Utah Avalanche Center tells me they have an avalanche warning in place across most of the state now.
So right now, our advice is to not travel in avalanche terrain altogether. So avalanche terrain is anything steeper than 30 degrees.
We are learning more about the 8 people who died in an avalanche in California earlier this week. 6 of the victims were close friends, moms who regularly skied together. A 9th person is still missing and presumed dead. Recovery efforts have been delayed because avalanche warnings remain in the region. All national forest trails and land in that area are closed and will likely stay that way for a month. Several interstates in the Sierras shut down during the storm as travel conditions were just too treacherous. Thankfully, the snow finally stopped falling. Snowplow drivers have been working around the clock trying to keep the roads passable. Ben Margiot took a ride with the one driver in a plow with an extra special piece of equipment.
We all thought winter was over and we weren't going to get much of a winter, but winter surprised us. It came a little later.
He's one of 30 to 40 people plowing roads round the clock for NDOT during major storms like this. Many more when you include the cities and counties.
These are the switches for salt and sand, so we can decide how much or how little we need to put out.
But unlike most typical plows, Allen is towing another steerable plow behind him. It's one of just 2 in NDOT's Western Nevada fleet. This blade clears the median and fast lane, the trailer clears the second lane, and another plow behind him pushes it all into the right shoulder.
If we had normal plows, it would take 4 guys to do. So we're doing the work of 4 with just 2 trucks.
And on the East Coast, we continue to watch the development of a possible nor'easter on Sunday and into Monday. It has the potential to bring heavy, wet snow to the mid-Atlantic, along with coastal flooding and strong winds, but there's still a lot of uncertainty. If it's closer to the coast, the region will see a bigger impact, so pay close attention to forecasts through the weekend. Severe storms spawned several tornadoes across Illinois and Indiana last night. The National Weather Service says one of them touched down near Springfield, Illinois. It destroyed at least 1 home and damaged dozens of others. This woman describes what happened.
We could see the funnel cloud coming, and I mean within just seconds like it hit. It just hit. The house shook.
And another tornado hit Bloomington, Indiana, damaging homes and businesses. There are no reports of serious injuries or deaths here. The National Weather Service will survey the damage today. Critical fire conditions continue in Texas and Oklahoma panhandles. The areas under red flag warnings through 7 p.m. tonight. Crews are making some progress containing the fires that are still burning. We'll check in on 2 of those fires, starting with the Drew Powell at 8 Ball Fire in Texas.
Due to the high winds and due to the critical need to have air tankers at other fires in the Texas Panhandle, on Thursday, firefighters used a ground and pound approach to combat the 8 Ball fire.
So not only Texas Forest Service, but the local volunteer fire departments are around assisting and making sure that we can go alongside the flanks, so the sides of the fire, to try to prevent spread and get our perimeter contained.
I don't think people understand how much heavy equipment is involved in fighting a fire when they can't give us air support, but they do stay in contact with us and with Clarendon to let us know what's being done.
We're following behind and looking at hot spots where the fire was at its worst, just giving our eyes on all that and making sure that everything is snuffed out.
The scoopers and the air tankers can come back. It's going to be pilot discretion with the weather and the wind events.
The wind in our minds for any firefighter is the devil. And right now, again, the winds are high. We're expected to have high winds in the next couple days.
I'm Abby Molina in Potter County. The lavender fire burned right up to this property, blackening the ground just yards away from this home. While neighbors were evacuating, this couple made the decision to stay. While they're grateful their property is still standing, they're thankful they made it through safely. Tammy Wallace and her husband were not worried at first until they saw the flames near their home in Valley de Oro.
We left and went to the Bushland Cutoff and realized that we didn't have a place to take our big dogs. So we turned around and came back home, and when we got home, there was a fire truck and firefighters all over the place.
Tammy's husband Brian says their house is still standing thanks to the hard work of first responders.
I'm a retired cop, and there's always that competition going on between the cops and the hose draggers. But no, those guys literally saved our house.
Drought conditions are also causing problems in the Carolinas despite recent rain and snow, and they're not alone. Meteorologist Julia Haley looks at the regional and national situation.
Drought conditions deepened this week across the western Carolinas. Severe drought conditions, as you see in dark orange, expanded from 78% last week to nearly 94% this week. And about 20% of the area remains in an extreme drought. We're still running nearly 5 inches below normal since December. Even with recent rain, snow, and ice, many winter systems melted down to around an inch of liquid or less. Dry and windy stretches between storms have limited recovery. Statewide, 98% of North Carolina is in drought and 100% is at least abnormally dry. In South Carolina, 100% of the state remains in drought, with severe drought covering about 2/3 of the state. And the Carolinas are part of a broader regional dry pattern. The Southeast as a whole has been missing consistent soaking rainfall. 1 year ago, drought coverage across the region was lower. 6 months ago, much of the Southeast was not even in drought. Even 3 months ago, severe drought was more limited across the Carolinas. Now we're seeing more widespread and intense drought across Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas. We'll continue to track how conditions evolve as we head towards spring.
And you may have seen this video on your social media feeds. 3 bears running across a ski slope in California, all while skiers and snowboarders were making their way down the mountain. This happened at the North Star Resorts north of Lake Tahoe. The region is home to a large population of American black bears. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at why it's been a record year for Michigan ski resorts. And we'll find out why elk populations are soaring in Virginia.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We're tracking increasing and thickening clouds in the Northeast today. Parts of New York and New Jersey are already seeing a little bit of rain and snow. We'll see a transition to snow from most areas in New England late afternoon and night. Most of our snowfall will be during the overnight hours. That's 9 p.m. Any leftover steady snow in New England and New York, that will be moving out by early Saturday. And look for improving conditions early in the weekend. Our best chance for getting a half foot will be in northern New England.
I'm meteorologist Justin Chambers taking a look at your forecast here Friday morning. We'll see that weather maker bring more of the rain as it rolls through the mid-Atlantic and the Delmarva Peninsula. But looking out as we get into your Friday afternoon, eventually should see this moving on out of here, maybe even drying out nice enough to get some of that sunshine that we've been wanting to see. Get a little bit more cloud cover rolling in on Saturday. Still some temperatures that'll be above average. We'll be in the 40s on Friday, and then we're looking for some upper 40s, even some lower 50s by Saturday.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. It's going to be a warm Friday. Temperatures are going to get into the 60s for the northern parts of the southeast, so closer to the I-40 corridor, 60s there. Mid-70s along that I-20 corridor. And then when we get closer to the Florida and Gulf Coast peninsulas, we are going to experience temperatures in the upper 70s and lower to middle 80s. It's going to be quite toasty out there. This is all ahead of our next frontal boundary that will continue to take shape as we look ahead through your weekend across the Great Plains states, pushing across our area for the second half of the weekend.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Returning to our coverage of the western avalanches, many people caught up in an avalanche are backcountry skiers, snowboarders, and snowmobilers. It's an activity gaining popularity, but one that can be very dangerous. Steve Wolford has more from Mount Charleston in Nevada.
This accumulation of snow over a short period of time, you're going to have a higher risk specifically during and right after the storm.
Mount Charleston Fire District Chief Jason Douglas says, like the mountains surrounding Lake Tahoe, backcountry skiers here are facing a greater avalanche risk right now. Also similar.
As for terrain, we're almost identical when it comes to our steepness of slope, as well as our elevation's very similar as well.
His advice, wait a few days for the natural avalanches to happen on their own.
We had some snow during Christmas and Thanksgiving, and then a lot of that melted off and created kind of an icy base layer. And then as we get the new snow, it doesn't have as much grip, so it's going to slide. With our steeper areas, we're going to have a lot more sliding as we get that heavy accumulation over a short period of time. So we do have a risk as of right now.
The Mount Charleston Fire Department and Metro Search and Rescue are trained for avalanche rescue, but they leave the forecasting to the experts at the Lee Canyon Ski and Snowboard Resort.
We have a snow safety team that goes out, they dig pits, they do snow safety analysis, they're looking at the crystallization of the snow. A lot of science goes into it, but we're very diligent in our snow safety here, so we want to make sure that everybody's safe.
And backcountry skiing isn't for everyone. Douglas says only a few dozen locals have the skill set, training, avalanche kit, and conditioning. The climb alone can take 4, 5, even 8 hours before skiing or snowboarding back down.
You're on your own or you're limited with just you and a couple people. There's no lines you're waiting in, but you have to earn it. You're earning the ride down. There's no lifts in the backcountry.
It's been a winter to remember across northern Michigan. Resort leaders say consistent snowfall, cold temperatures, and a strong turnout have made this one of their best seasons in years. Tony Lundy takes a look at the slopes to learn more.
High snowbanks and busy chairlifts. That's been the scene across northern Michigan this winter. And at Crystal Mountain, CEO John Melcher says the season got off to exactly the start they were hoping for.
We were able to start making snow mid-November.
and have a great base. And then Mother Nature has given us about just over 10 feet of snow here at Crystal. So it's been a tremendous winter season.
That strong foundation helped carry the momentum all season long. And while the snowfall totals are impressive, Melcher says his favorite part isn't measured in inches.
I get them every day, so it's just seeing families interacting with each other, the laughter on the slopes, and then seeing them all get back together after a busy day and recounting all their adventures that they had.
About an hour away at Cabernet Peaks, General Manager Pete Meyer says this winter has outperformed expectations.
So this has been a great winter, better than most. You know, we already have 125 inches year to date, and that's more than we get in a lot of typical seasons.
And after weeks of steady snowfall, recent sunshine has only added to the energy on the hill.
And so it's been so fun to see people get out and enjoy the sunshine, which we haven't seen in probably a whole month or more. And just a lot of smiles and a lot of happy skiers and snowboarders.
With both resorts planning to stay open into late March and early April, there's still time for you to hit the slopes.
Alabama recently experienced dramatic temperature changes. The region has felt extreme cold and record warmth in the span of weeks. How common are swings like these? Meteorologist Riley Blackwell takes us through the numbers.
To start next week, we're talking a big-time cool down. That's roughly a 32-degree temperature difference in our highs. Now, if that seems significant, it kind of is, because with this weather roller coaster, that could be one of the biggest swings day to day for high temperatures in Birmingham history. Now, usually 20 to 30 degree temperature swings are very common this type of year, just because we're in that transitional period between winter and spring. But check this out. The biggest swing that at least I could find happened from January 1st, 1930, or January 21st, 1935 to January 22nd, 1935, where we went from a high of 70 degrees on the 21st down to a high of 29 degrees on the 22nd. That would be a 41-degree temperature swing. So a lot of crazy weather happening, and just reminding you, winter has a long way to go.
Yeah, that's for sure. There was a solar eclipse earlier this week, but don't worry, you didn't miss it. You had to be in Antarctica to see it. A South Korean satellite caught the moon's shadow passing across the bottom of the globe. As meteorologist Noah Hawk explains, this one was very different from the total solar eclipse that was visible in the U.S. back in 2024.
Well, just 2 years ago here in the U.S., we saw that total solar eclipse, and this is when the moon is going to completely cover the surface of the sun. And during that period of totality, which only lasts for about a few minutes on average, you're actually able to take off your protective glasses and look up at it. But when it comes to an annular solar eclipse, the moon is still going to cover the surface of the sun, but it's not going to cover it in its entirety. So you're going to have to keep that protective gear on the entire time as to not damage your eyes. But what does annular even mean? One might think every year because of annual, but it actually comes from the Latin term annulus, which translates to ring. So this is sometimes referred to as the ring of fire solar eclipse. But how does this even happen? Well, it's going to come down from the alignment of the moon's orbit, the Earth's orbit, and also the sun's orbit. They all have to work together to get into one line, allowing for this eclipse to even happen. But why is it that the moon doesn't completely cover the sun? Well, it also has to do with the moon's orbit itself. It's not going to be circular, but rather elliptical, and it's also not going to be centered around the Earth. And there's going to be two different points that are important in the moon's orbit. When it's closest to the Earth, that's going to be known as perigee, where it's going to be bigger and brighter. But then the more important one for this is the apogee, where the moon is going to be the furthest from the Earth and appear smaller. And this is when those annular solar eclipses happen, when the moon is in its apogee phase. So although we didn't see one here in the U.S., they still had a pretty cool sight down near the South Pole.
And now let's take a look at a preview of this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar.
Hey, ChatGPT, create a caricature of me doing my job based on everything you know about me. It's the latest trend flooding your feed right now. Cartoon versions of people at their desks, in their scrubs, behind their microphones, slightly idealized and totally shareable. Before that, it was the candy cane trend at Christmas. And why not? They're fun. They're flattering. They make us look, well, a little cooler than we actually are. But here's what happens behind the screen every time you hit generate.
The computing they're performing is really intensive, and all of that electricity that's coming in eventually gets converted to heat.
Heat that needs to be cooled. And how do you cool massive data centers?
Water is the most efficient medium for cooling.
Today, we're going off the radar with Dr. Amanda Smith from Project Drawdown to explore the environmental cost of generative AI.
I do think it's worth being thoughtful about it.
We'll get to the bottom of the online noise to share what you need to know before the next time you hit that generate button.
And you can find Off the Radar anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And time now for a short break, but first we take to the skies over Los Angeles, California.
Well, a very good Friday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. We have some snow showers working their way across the northern portions of the Midwest, a kind of a rain-snow mix, and severe weather's out of here across the Ohio Valley, thankfully. Tomorrow's a little quieter for most of the Midwest here, but chilly temperatures as we head into your Sunday. Got a little disturbance firing up over the Great Lakes in the Ohio Valley with some light snow showers.
Well, a good Friday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region and start off with some cloudiness, a few sprinkles and showers in southern portions of the region. Notice through Oklahoma and Arkansas, highs in the 50s, patchy clouds, 60s and 70s as you head to the south. Next weather maker will be this front coming through early on Saturday. Behind it, gusty winds, much cooler temperatures, highs 40s, 50s and 60s, 70s to the south and lower humidity.
Well, hi there in TGIF to everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Winter showing up late out west, and it goes on today with heavy snow over the Sierra Nevada and chilly readings here over the Continental Divide, barely cracking freezing there around Missoula. Just mid-60s with spring training getting underway around the Valley of the Sun. Big disturbance there, in fact, pushing out of the Four Corners there and in toward Denver. Needed snow around Steamboat Springs and back to Vail. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
A member of the deer family is making a comeback in Virginia. Meteorologist Teresa Carter explains.
After being absent from the state for over 150 years, elk has been successfully reintroduced to Southwest Virginia. The original eastern elk population was hunted for extension in Virginia by 1855, but a restoration program between 2012 and 2014 relocated elk from Kentucky to reclaimed coal mine lands that provide ideal grassland habitat. Multiple agencies have contributed to the success of elk restoration in Virginia. The habitat work focused on improving soil quality, removing invasive plant species and woody vegetation, as well as seeding seed mixes that provide quality forage and cover for elk. Due to this hard work, over 250 elk now reside and are thriving in Southwest Virginia.
And we'd love to share your weather content on air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm meteorologist Mark Pena. Make it a great Friday. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you right back here on Monday for the National Weather Desk.